morning.
This is a great pleasure to speak to you.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. I'm an incurable Anglophile, and I love anything that's British. I'm not saying that because you put the call through.
Well, they certainly...
My secret love most of my professional life.
Well, they certainly love you over here.
Well, I couldn't be more pleased. I think you love me more than my own country. I have vast experience in every form of show business. People know the Bilko show, but they don't know I've done 5 Broadway hit shows too. And I always drifted to an Englishman on the show, and in the early days of vaudeville, Will Hay, do you remember him?
Yes, indeed.
Well, he was my friend. Nervo and Knox, they were with the Crazy Gang eventually. They're old men now, if indeed they're alive. But one of the biggest crew we had on the Bilko show is we get a call one day, and we're told that, God bless her soul, Kay Kendall wanted to do a guest spot with us. But we went crazy. We had a show planned to do, which we abandoned, and quickly we were a happy family, and it showed on the screen. And we rewrote a whole series where Kay Kendall is a British star, and I come and try to get her to do a show for our camp. And that was one of the best Bilko shows we did. And all my life, I've always said London is my favorite city, and I've never been there at the time. I just had that feeling. And one day I got tired of going to Hollywood on vacations, and I booked passage and went to London. And do you know Kenneth Tynan?
Yes, indeed. Who didn't?
Well, God rest his soul. He's passed. But he was my sponsor. He turned me the top American comedian. I guess I just appealed to him. And I was at a party with him, and I asked him a few questions about London, and especially who could I call to take to the theater, preferably an actress, so we'd have something in common. And he gave me a list. I said, you're crazy, Ken. What would Kay Kendall want with me? He said, you want somebody to go to the theater with? I said, well, I'll give her a ring perhaps. But I never did. One day, she called. She was a fan of the Bilko show, and she did one of our funniest episodes. I don't know if it's played in London yet.
Well, we're seeing all the Bilko series right now on the BBC. The whole lot.
So I'm told, and I couldn't be more pleased. There are 2 boys who adopted me. I don't know them. I have their names in front of me. Stephen Everett and Mick Clues. They got magazines out with my picture and all the cast members and the names of the shows we've done.
Well, let me tell you something, Mr. Silvers. I have them right here in the studio with me.
Oh, do you?
And we are going
Give
to...
them a warm hug for me.
A warm hug they shall have.
Good.
Tell me, what does it feel like, 30 years on, to be celebrating this timeless anniversary?
I watch it whenever it's on, and it doesn't occur to me that's me on the screen. It's a completely different fella. I don't remember doing any of it. It was a happy family of people, and we worked very hard. What looked like a lot of fun and ad-libbing and jumping around was completely rehearsed. Nothing in comedy will work if you don't work at it. Comedy, I made up an expression. Comedy is no laughing matter. It's hard work. But it's a great gift to have.
Did you have any idea when you were starting this 30 years ago that it would become such a legend in your own lifetime?
I hadn't the slightest idea. The genius of the show was the Bible tells us first came the Word. There was a great comedy writer named Matt Hyken who conceived of the format. And Mr. Paley, who was the head of series. We made 20 shows without a sponsor. And I didn't know where we were going to be on the network. And in those days, Milton Berle, is that name familiar to you?
Yes, indeed.
Well, he was the king of television. Any show opposite him, he was on NBC. Any show opposite him suffered in the rating. And I was distraught when I found out they were going to put our show opposite Milton Berle on the Columbia Network. And the ratings came in and it was a disaster. Something like 40 for Milton and 10 for us. And it continued that way for 3 weeks, and I was heartbroken. Because I knew we were a good show and we just weren't being watched. And so I couldn't stand the pain of it. I went on a trip just to find myself. I came back in about 6 weeks, and just for the hell of it, went up to the Columbia Broadcasting offices, and I sensed an excitement as I walked through the long corridor with all those 50 or 60 women typing furiously. And there was the head of the talent in Columbia, a man named Albert Robinson, frantically trying to reach me on the phone. He said, "Oh, there you are, look at this." And he showed me the previous stage rating, and it was 40 for us, 28 for Milton. Overnight, we put them off the air.
That's fantastic, isn't it?
I have an analysis to that. I think it was the children in the family. They saw these faces, and it just the kids run the television in the house, and we went higher and higher. The show was canceled at its height because it was an expensive show. The average comedy show had 4 people and some outside guests. We started with 22, which is what a platoon was.
Tell me, Mr. Silvers, do you get much fan mail from Britain nowadays?
Tons of it.
Do you enjoy that?
I'm stunned by it. It's so affectionate and such a high compliment. I get most of it, strangely enough, from Ireland and Scotland, but I guess most of it is from London.
Well, you'll have a lot of fans listening to you all over Britain, from Scotland, Ireland, Wales, and England. And in the studio here at Pebble Mill at 1, there are a group of members of your fan club celebrating Sergeant Bilko. Do you have a message for them and for your fans throughout Britain?
It is my firm wish that I continue to have, or rather I continue to deserve their support and their love. I couldn't be more pleased. As I told you at the beginning of this conversation, I am an incurable Anglophile. It starts when I was a little boy, when Will Hayes came through and Kenneth Tynan became my friend and Dickie Henderson. And then I was the only American used in the series, I forget what it's called, but the name of my picture in England was Follow That Camel. It's a series that's been running for years in London. I can't think of the comedian's name. Ken Williams? And
yes, Ken Williams.
And the boy that was such a big hit at the London Palladium, who later did Tim Dale. Do you remember? Is he around?
I'm not. Yes, he is, yes.
Well, he was a big hit in America doing the life of P.T. Barnum. He's a brilliant young actor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well,
Sir Louis Sterling, who I didn't know, but he was an old man then, so I guess he's passed away. But he used to have Sunday nights at his home, and he'd gather a group of celebrities from all walks of life. The head admiral, the biggest fight promoter, the leading boxer. And I knew them all because I knew everything that was English. I was very interested in it. And the fellow assigned to me from the BBC to show me around London kept avoiding me when I said I want to see a cricket match. I hear they're playing at a place called Lord's. He kept ignoring me, and I know now why. Because the average American thinks it's a very dull game. I think some Englishmen think it's dull too, but I'm a sports fan, and I wanted to see it. And I told him one day, we're going to go to Lord's. England is playing India, and if you don't take me, I'll go by myself. And so we went to Lord's, and we walked up the ramp, and it was quiet. I said, isn't this a big match? He says, it's the biggest match of the year. But it was so quiet. See, we're used to people screaming in the audience at a sporting event. And then I was privileged to sit in the Lord Tavern section where there were sat 90-year-old men who cricket is a religion to them. And the fellow with me explained me the rudiments of the game, and I'm a sports fan, and in 10 minutes I knew all about cricket. And and then the broadcaster who was sitting behind us in an opening booth came down and sat and joined us, and he had an anti-American chip on his shoulder. You could see it a mile away. He came and sat down and said, what do you think about dull old game? I said, the only thing dull is you. Well, what do you mean? I said, is this an important match? He said, yes, the most important of the year. I said, you're doing it like it's a tea party. Here's how an American announcer would do it. And in his ear, I said, Krishna, good God, there goes a sixer. It's over the wall. He'll throw it. And I started screaming. He says, my God, would you do that on the BBC? I said, sure. So they called the head office and got the cameras back to Lord's. You know, on Saturday they travel to soccer matches, to the water regattas. But they brought the camera back to Lord's, and he introduced me as a famous American sergeant major who will now see cricket through the eyes of an American. And I started to scream in that television box. And these 100-year-old men to which cricket is a religion looked over in great fury at this interloper. And then when they saw it was me, they said, oh, it's Bilko, he's nuts anyway. And the next day in London, I was a hero. The cab drivers all with their thumbs up was yelling, Charlie Good, we like the cricket. The first time we enjoyed cricket on the telly.
I'll tell you something, Mrs.
Victory in London.
I'll tell you something. It's catching. They all do it now.
Oh, that's good.
You called yourself an Anglophile, Mrs. Silvers. You might like to know. You might like to know that from the BBC television ratings, there are at least 2 million Bilko-philes over here, and they all send you their affection and warmest good wishes.
Well, this is a big moment for me. I've won every award that the American theater and the American television has to give. But this is the crowning point. This show of affection and appreciation has made my day.
Thank you very much indeed, Mrs. Silvers.
I enjoyed talking to you. My love to everybody concerned.
Thank you.
Is this goodbye?
Yes, I'm now passing you back to my minder, the lady who set this up. We've finished.
Oh, she does a good job, too.
We've finished recording, Mrs. Silvers. Thank you very much indeed. And may I say what a tremendous pleasure it was for this particular fan to have the chance to speak to you.
Well, I must say that it's my pleasure in spades. That's double.
Thank you.